Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Cam and I are getting ready to jump into our review of the entire season of True Detective Night Country, which is technically True Detective Season 4, whatever you want to call it, which is going to be premiering on Max January 14th. There's 6 episodes. They're all about an hour plus each. They're very lengthy episodes where you will be able to catch a new episode weekly each and every Sunday. This series stars the legendary Jodie Foster alongside of Kaylee Reis, who is a former Boston champion and somebody I've been acclimated with since the beginning with her uh, uh, film debut in the film that premiered in Tribeca Film Festival about 2 years ago called Catch the Fair Ones, which is a fantastic film. She's a fantastic person, and I really was excited to see this duo, which certainly did not disappoint. But in this season, just to kind of get y'all quickly up to speed with the synopsis here, there's kind of two things happening, and as you know, in true detective form, it is a mystery of some sorts that need to be solved. And in this one, where we're taking our talents to Alaska, there's two different things happening. Now, the synopsis does point to these 8 men, who one wintry night just disappears without a trace. Along with that, there is a murder investigation going on with a young lady, which has these two detectives, Detective Navarro, who is played by Kaylee Reis, and Detective Liz Danvers, who are sort of in two separate paths until ultimately the cases kind of run course with one another, and their trajectories align them, that they may be actually looking for the same amount of clues for the same answers to truly find out not only what happened to these gentlemen, but who killed Annie K. But yeah, before we actually get into our thoughts about this film, what we like, this series, about what we liked and didn't like, we do have interviews available on the channel, so check out our interviews with the leads of this film as they give us a little more insight about the filming process and just them working with one another. Which, again, when you talk about the legendary Jodie Foster, you sort of already expect an amazing performance. But I'm here to say that Kaylee may not have been on your radar, but I can promise you, whether you want to go back and look at some of her boxing highlights or you want to check out her debut film, but beyond this series, you certainly will keep an eye out for her, because you would think that her resume was extremely longer than what it was based on her performance there. The two of them really bring a lot to the screen in these episodes here for True Detective. And as I mentioned, there is 6 episodes premiering each and every week, starting in January 14th, with all the episodes being an hour, a little bit more than an hour plus. But Cam, your thoughts, man. What was some of the things that just you truly liked about this series? Some of the things that stood out to you, just your overall review of it.
Yeah, honestly, so I like you said, I mean, the long list of amazing performances that Jodie Foster has put on over the years. I mean, everyone knows her, but I was actually disappointed that I didn't know more about Kaylee Reis, to be honest with you, because like you said, her performance between the two of them, you would think her resume is really, really long from, just how well she did and how two of them combated in this show. You would have thought that, she had years and years of experience, honestly. But I honestly, I thought the show was really good. It was definitely well paced through and through. But I love the relationships between the two of them trying to just figure out what's going on in this whole entire series, while still trying to deal with their own little issues of life as well. It really stood out, and I think it's going to touch a lot of people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, to talk about the series first, I did love the location in snowy Alaska, so the backdrop was always fascinating, always added an extra element. Some may even say that the location plays its own particular type of character to everything that's kind of going on here. Again, I did love the leads, as they both had their single sort of challenges and adversities around them, and then collectively against one another they kind of had their challenges, and ultimately there was a case or two that had needed to be resolved. So I just love that the show was very layered in a way that really, to a point, I was almost worried that they were not going to be able to wrap everything up.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
kind of a lot kind of going on. It wasn't overwhelming. It was just to the point where I was just kind of like, I have a feeling that they're throwing some things at us that they may not touch upon. I'm here to say, like, they really, really did. They nailed it. Full execution of the plot. So I thought this was written very well. And then the script. The script is fantastic because kind of talking a little bit about the series, but also talking about Kaylee. If you do follow her, you know, she is an activist when it comes down to speaking about, for, and all things indigenous people. And with this being a particular element of the series, there's a lot of authenticity to this. And one, because for what she stands for, it's without a doubt, you don't even have to question it. But two, by an interview, she also mentioned it as well. But three is because, you know, if you're going to do something like this, you want to do it right. So the fact that, you know, that there was a research and consultation with the folks of the land, and Kaylee herself really bringing a very social focal point to the show that just makes it so much more enjoyable. And then if you are just completely in the dark about any of this, when you take Jodie Foster's character Liz, who's just very socially blind, she brings that insight in terms of that ignorance that challenges Detective Navarro, to the point that Detective Navarro puts her in a place, which is why I love the elements between the two, because you got somebody like Kaylee who's new, who stands toe to toe against, you know, the legendary Jodie Foster, but speaking about things that are truly passionate to her. So I love that because it's storytelling, but also too, it is creating an awareness to and more for indigenous folks, while still having a backdrop for a fantastic series. So like it's just done very, very well. And the other thing, being a horror fan too, there's a supernatural element to it. So things get a little tricky, a little spooky at times, and the gore is very, very good. The series is brutal at times, and I love just how brutal it is with the visuals, and while they like, I guess the other thing I like is too, sometimes there's like implied violence and gore, and then sometimes they just fully give it to you, so you're just on edge because you just don't know what's going to happen the moment you turn the corner. So I think I thought the series just kept you engaged the entire time, whether it's through the dialogue, whether it's through the clues and trying to figure out what's going on with the case, or whether it's just because of this eerie, unsettling feeling over the land of Alaska here. So a lot of reasons for you to go into this liking this.
So yeah, I mean, it definitely was a lot going on, and I feel like they really dove into the paranormal aspect, as well as a little bit more of the Native American history, as far as, you know, apparitions and different things like that. I think that really brought the whole entire story together, but it gave it, like you said, like this horror type eerie element for sure, that I think is going to captivate a newer audience, other than just the, you know, the true crime originals from season 1 through 3. I think it's going to bring in a lot of more of those, you know, horror folks that are like, hey, you know, this is something definitely to check out, because from beginning to end, I'm telling you, this series definitely kept our attention 100%.
Yeah. So I think you know, beyond just a lot of the things that we listed, I think, again, I really like this show, and I really, really, really found almost nothing wrong with it. I think, again, there was just a part of me that was like, are they going to be able to wrap all of this up? And they certainly do. They wrap this up so good that they are able to apply a cliffhanger that, knowing that True Detectives is an anthology, has you craving for more, knowing that you won't get more, but it's still that really good, happy ending that that keeps you very open hearted for the potential for them to do something that they're not going to do. So I like that because I think it's a good send off for a good story, a good ending that wraps everything up, but also leaves the fans in a way that has you desire more. And when people desire more, they're vocal about it. So it's that other further level of engagement that the show can get and receive for everybody that's stuck through the entire time. So I thought they just did a really good job in tying things up, but also still allowing fans to be sort of curious about the potentials of what could be beyond this. So I don't know, and it could be the first. It could be the first of the seasons. I mean, this is
Yeah.
True Detective Night Country, so they could just Night Country season 2. I don't know, man. It could be interesting how they want to do it. And
Yeah.
I would not ever deny another chance to see Kaylee and Jody across from one another.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like Issa Lopez, the director of the show, definitely probably has a little bit more up her sleeve. I mean, I think it was a great ending and a full circle close as far as for their story. But like you said, there were some cliffhangers at the end that definitely could trickle into something new. There are
Yeah.
several other characters that were also in this series that I feel like we could probably peel off and see what happens to them later on as well. A couple predecessors or either family members that really, we didn't really get to see what was their ending as well, but for the main characters, they definitely closed it out pretty well. But fingers crossed, like you said. I mean, I would never say no, and I would love to see more if they had more, because like you said, it is called True Detective Night Country, not technically season 4. I don't think they kind of label it, but like not at the same time. So it's like kind of gives us the hope that they give us a little bit more Kaylee and Jody at the same time.
Yeah. I think for my final thoughts on this is that I love just to kind of talk about the detective aspect of it. I mean, of course, that's the big element of the show is the fans to be engaged in trying to figure out what's going on. I love how the series has you rethinking your questioning and approach about solving the case. So there's a lot of times where you're asked about asking the right questions, and characters are asking other questions about other characters about asking the right questions, to the point that you start to say, is it truly about who killed Annie K, or who do we know, or how did they say it isn't who killed Annie K, but who knows who killed her? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So like little things like that, that just again has you very much engaged and just trying to figure out the resolve for the season. But yeah, I think again, expect the show to get brutal. Expect a little bit of hand-to-hand combat. I mean, you're gonna have a
Yeah.
former boxing champion here. Why not let her throw those things a couple of times?
Right.
So there's some very solid choreography on that note. Again, the snowy backdrop of Alaska, which yes, I know they filmed in Iceland, but nonetheless, they definitely bring that Alaskan town, the natives of that town. They do it the most authentic way that I've seen on television. Period. And again, when you think about the folks of the town, Kaylee and other indigenous folks collectively being consulted for this, you can go in this with the utmost confidence that this is handled properly. And what a time for indigenous people, man. You got
Yeah.
Echo on Disney Plus
Yep.
with Alakwa Cox, and then you got Kaylee in this. I mean, it's a beautiful time for the indigenous folks being having 2 leads in 2 of the most popular shows starting off this year, that are both bangers, by the way.
Yeah.
That Echo
Yeah.
review coming soon.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, and I think that's important, because as we want to see television and movies continue to diversify itself with the proper representation, you start to get better and better products done the right way, handled by the right folks, and this is just another testament to that. So nonetheless, I love this series without a doubt. Rewatchability galore, so much to take from it, so much fun, good action, little bit of horror in there for you all. The performances, I mean, come on now. And then just very interesting characters with amazing scripts and the dialogue. Man, I'm telling you, when Navarro, who is very, very passionate and stands for the
Yes.
people of that town against as I mentioned, socially blind
Mhm.
Jodie Foster
Yep.
character, Detective Liz Danvers. Man, she doesn't hold back, and I gotta tell you,
Brutal.
it's got to be some of the best I've seen on television. And whether this is something, with this starting off the year, this definitely should be talked about all year round, and one of the best series for the year. Because the way how this came out the gates, it's going people gonna have to bring it. They're gonna have to bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Cam, for you, anything that you didn't like, anything else you want to add on it before we wrap it up here?
No, I really, honestly, I really love the series. And if it wasn't for time of doing other things, I probably would have watched it again or several times as I could, to be honest with you. It's a beautiful relationship between fire and water in a Alaskan atmosphere, trying to figure out, and solve these crimes, and coming together to figure out things. And I think they did such a great job with it, from beginning to end. Like you said, it does have a little bit of gore, a little bit of horror. But I think a lot of people are really going to love it once they get a chance to actually see it. This show starts out really fast, that first episode. So
yeah, dude,
buckle your seatbelts, everybody. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Last thing I can say too, I talked about the beautiful backdrop of Alaska. There's some amazing underwater visuals. So you can imagine if we're talking about snow, ice, Alaska, underwater, things get a little creepy on that note too. And and just how it's done is just fascinating. I have to say that the effects was a good mix of practical and CGI. That just, again, just beautiful backdrop, and cinematography, and the set location that just really brought everything all together. So that being said, check out True Detective: A Night Country, premiering January 14th on HBO, and which I would assume premieres the next day on Max. So this is still considered an HBO original. So one way or another, you catch it on HBO, catch it on Max, catch it all things Warner Brothers Discovery. You get in the comments, folks. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about this one when you check it out. And if you had not checked it out, y'all let us know your excitement for the next season, the next chapter of True Detective. And we'll catch y'all back here for more reviews and content very soon.